It's the He Mistook her For A Swan Emergency Broadcasting System, Episode 19. This week, we're going to Welland, Ontario. Yay. Then we're going to Missouri. Yay. And then we are going to the deck, and we're going to give you a cool song that's going to blow your socks off. Hang on. Well, happy Sunday, people. Happy Swanee Sunday. Things are running a little late today because, as can happen in the country, there's been a bit of a power failure. For God's sakes, the lights went out. I'm going, oh, for crying out loud. They came back on. Thank you very much, Hydro One, for all the whatever the hell you were doing up there in the trees. But it's great. It's National Book Lovers Day, and I love books. I'm a bookish lad. And lots of my friends are bookish too. And I don't know. This is what I did when I was a kid. You know, some dads would take their kids out to football or hockey or whatever. My dad and I would go to the secondhand bookstores and just hang around all day and look for books and talk about books and read books. And fuck, maybe that explains what happened to me. How did I get this way? Anyway, books are great. Don't fuck with books. It's also, you know whose birthday it is? Chris Haney. Who the hell is Chris Haney, you say? Well, Chris Haney invented Trivial Pursuit. And although you can't see this, my little camera is perched upon a Trivial Pursuit box. So this makes me think it's apropos to mention that Chris Haney was born in Welland in 1950. Welland. Now there's a story. I'm sure there's some nice people that come from Welland, but I've had a little trouble meeting any of them. I'll tell you, back in in the dark ages when I was playing punk rock with the Viletones, we had a famous gig at the new Dexter Hotel in Welland, where we went there and we set up, and there was something wrong with the PA and shit wasn't working, and we sat down again and we got up again. Me and Sam and Tony were trying to play some Stooges songs or something just to keep the locals happy. Finally, we realized, this PA's broken. It's not really working for us. So we sit down, and you can see there's just a bunch of hooligans hanging around there. A bunch of guys who's got nothing better to do than to get into shit. So you can see some of the older hooligans. They pick one of the younger hooligans, and they come over and talk to me. And the guy made certain suggestions. Actually, he didn't make them. You could tell he didn't really want to get into the fight, this guy. But his older buddies sent him over to get shit riled up. And so he was implying that my sexual preferences were somewhat unorthodox. And I politely responded that there's nothing wrong with that, but you're incorrect, and perhaps your buddies over there should look in their own backyard first. Well, my goodness, he didn't take that well at all. And So I stood up, he stood up. You can imagine how threatening the 21-year-old, 6 foot tall, 150 pounds of Steve Koch looks. And this guy is about 6'4", and he's just been working in the steel mill his whole life. And he could have crashed my head. But Sam said, "No, Steve, sit down. This is not worth it." So the guy goes back to his table. His cronies are unsatisfied that a fight has not ensued. And somehow, somewhere else in the bar, they managed to get a taker. And one of our crew is starting to fight, and all of a sudden the whole fucking place erupts into fisticuffs and chairs flying and people getting punched in the head. And my God, our buddy Nick Scratch, he comes downstairs. We had rooms upstairs with a baseball bat, and somebody takes the baseball bat away from him and just whacks him with it. And that is a terrible sound. That's not a sound you want to hear, especially if you're Nick. That's the last sound you want to hear if you're him. But I didn't want to hear it either. So anyway, chairs are flying, when glass is breaking and shit's happening. The guy who started the whole shit with me comes up to me And we're like in the middle of this tornado of violence. And he walks up to me and he says, okay, throw the first punch. And I'm going, I'm not doing anything. And I just walk away from him. And he walked away from me because I don't think he really wanted to fight either. But anyway, chaos erupts. We retreat behind the glass door which leads to the upstairs. And they're very unsatisfied with all this. And so basically, half the town of Welland just pulls up fucking lawn chairs and they stay there all goddamn night. I looked out the window like 3 a.m. There's those hooligans. They're just sitting there drinking beer, waiting for us to fucking come out. Welland, what is wrong with you people? Anyway, some friends of ours show up with cars the next day and we hightail it out of there with a police escort. And, yeah, years later, I met some guys from Welland, and they said, "Oh yeah, that's what we do. You know, we're bored. There's nothing to do in Welland, so on Saturday we go out and get into fights." If we would have only known that, maybe we wouldn't have gone there, or we would have acted differently. I don't know. Anyway, the only person seriously hurt was Nick, and they broke his elbow. There you go. I didn't get punched at all, which is unusual because usually in any kind of fight situation, I'm not the puncher, I'm the punchee. So, you know, I'm a lover, not a fighter, okay? I'm a musician, for God's sakes. I can't be scrunching up these hands, punching people in the head who have like fucking boneheads. Anyway, that's Welland. I do have to say, we're pretty much ready to release our record. We're pretty excited about it. It seems like for sure it's going to be up on Bandcamp on today, Sunday. It's going to be up on YouTube tomorrow, Amazon tomorrow, and some other little things that you've never friggin' heard about. And I'm still waiting to hear if Spotify and all the other guys are going to have it for tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure of that. I'm doing what I can do. Okay, I'm doing what I can frickin' do. I'm just one guy. So, and things are slow, you know, with the whole COVID business, things are slow out there in the world. So what normally took a month in the old days might take 45 days. We'll see. Hopefully everything's up on Monday. But I hope you do go check it out because we're really super proud of it. Produced by John Bora, who did a fantastic job. And yeah, I mean, basically we just, we're down in Johnny McLeod's basement there. Johnny's got his gear hooked up and, basically 2 guitars and a vocal. And that's tough. You know, I mean, it's probably easier for recording a producer and engineer if you got more shit going on. Because if there's only the 2 of us, if anything goes wrong, you're going to hear it. And I'm telling you, John did a fantastic job. So you should, slap him on the back if you see him. And tell him you love it after you listen to it. Like, don't lie, okay? I'm not asking you to lie. And then we had the legendary Peter Moore, Grammy Award-winning Peter Moore, our buddy, who's done millions of recordings with us. He recorded The Screwed with us, and he's every cool record you can think of, he's involved in, and he's a genius, and we really thank him. So other than that, it's just me and Colleen doing our thing and doing some traditional folk songs, okay? It's interesting, the other day, we're talking about Shirley Collins, and I think this question came up to her. People are saying, well, what is folk anyway? And I think the answer is pretty simple for Shirley. It's music you got from your folks, and they got from their folks, and they got from their folks. It's traditional music. So Shirley's going, just because you pick up an acoustic guitar and strum away and you're a cute little thing, that doesn't make it folk music. It's folk music if it's old and it's come down. It's like musical archaeology. And yeah, I get that. One little area where we could just briefly talk about, but I'm gonna, God knows I'm no friggin' good at this, but I'll try and keep it brief, because after this we have a fantastic live performance with the me and Colleen on the deck with the legendary Greer Coppins joining us on penny whistle and ba-da-ba-da, bagpipes, those caterwauling pipes. Oh man, we woke up the neighborhood and it was fun. So we got into Jelly Roll Morton a couple shows back, and it got me thinking. He was right there on the ground floor when jazz was invented in New Orleans. But we got to remember there was something that was before jazz, and it was really kind of before what we know as blues as well. It was this transitional thing called ragtime, which existed from the mid 1890s up to about World War One. Say 1917. It was enormously popular, and it was kind of threatening kind of music. It was the crazy dance craze music of its day, and it had this syncopated beat, with a steady bass rhythm, piano music mostly. It was unlike jazz. It was meant to be played exactly as it was written. It was like classical music in that sense. It's like, so these guys who were, kind of musical whizzes, like Scott Joplin, wrote this stuff out, and that's the way it was supposed to be played. None of this improvisation. So that's where, from ragtime to jazz added the improvisation, which is, what we love today. I mean, what would rock and roll be without the frickin' 20-minute hippie jam? You know what I'm talking about. So anyway, ragtime, kind of a Missouri thing. Name other stuff that comes from Missouri. Nothing comes to mind, but I'm sure some great stuff comes. Well, okay, so St. Louis in Missouri. So jazz is there, but ragtime lived there. There was these guys. What are they called? A family. They're called Turpins, the Turpin family. They set up some bars in St. Louis. They had one called the Silver Dollar, just like in Toronto. But the really good one was called the Rosebud, and they opened up this bar, the Rosebud, bar/sporting house, meaning it's kind of a brothel, and they had people playing this new music. It was like the CBGBs of 1900, right? They had this new music, this ragtime music, and it kind of made you want to shuffle your feet and move around and dance. It was dance music, and it was crazy zany music for the young people, and the old people did not like it at all. There's one little review from 1900 where they said the counters of the music stores are loaded with this virulent poison, which in the form of a malarious epidemic is finding its way into the homes and brains of the youth to such an extent as to arouse one's suspicion of their sanity. Malarial epidemic? Holy ding dong. Them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. Malarial epidemic, indeed. It's frickin' ragtime music, eh? But, the kids loved it. It kind of grew out of kind of a synthesis of... Before that, in the U.S., they were just mad for marching bands, this John Philip Sousa marching band thing. So ragtime took a little bit of that, but then it made the beat a little ragged. And that's what happened. And they made it syncopated, and they made it dancey, and they made it fun. Because how fun is a John Philip Sousa march? Apparently they loved it. But anyway. And it also brings in some of the kind of what you would call the African American folk music of the time. And probably nobody knows really. Nobody knows shit about shit. But what they're thinking is that there was fiddle and banjo music that had this syncopated beat in the kind of 1850s and after, going back even further probably. And Scott Joplin kind of took that music that he knew, that people were playing on banjos and stuff, and maybe that mixed in with the marching band stuff and a few other kind of other influences, and he came up with this ragtime thing. Scott took his sheet music was a big deal in those days, so Scott took his song, the Maple Leaf Rag, to this big music publisher guy, to make the sheet music. And the guy looked at it, and the page is just black with notes, and he's going, I don't think so. Who's going to be able to play this? It's too complicated. But Scott insisted, and it sold 1 million copies. 1 million copies of sheet music. Who's that? We don't even understand that. I mean, musicians today, half of them can't even read music, and half of them, 3/4 of them. And not that that's bad. I mean, I can't really read music very well, but 1 million copies of sheet music. Cool, eh? Anyway, yeah, back in New Orleans, Jelly Roll was doing this ragtime stuff too, but he was taking it and he was bending it around a little bit and adding a little bit of this and that. One of the influences also, sorry, I forgot to mention, was maybe the Caribbean, because a lot of these, there seemed to be a Caribbean influence, which kind of is why they had that dropped beat, they call it, the ragged timing. So anyway, we're getting a little technical here. So anyway, yeah, lots of dancing. Maybe we're gonna talk about dancing some other time, and other stuff. Scott Joplin wrote a friggin' opera, Treemonisha. But the problem is, after 1917, ragtime suddenly went out of fashion, and it did not come back into fashion for like 50 frickin' years. But in I think it was 72, they restaged Treemonisha at the Met. It was a huge success because it's actually a brilliant work. But people were done with ragtime by World War One, the end of World War One, kind of, and they moved on to jazz, which is more the Louis Armstrong kind of stuff and the stuff that came out of New Orleans. But that stuff was built on this ragtime stuff. There you go. That's all I frickin' have to say about ragtime. What I am gonna say is, we're going to give you a song, and it's a pure delight, because we get to play with Greer Coppins, the legendary Greer Coppins, and he's stepping up to the plate, man, and he is playing some penny whistle, and he is playing some bagpipes on this. And this is the beautiful song. It's Colleen's arrangement of the Townes Van Zandt song, the Black Crow Blues. So I'm going to pass it over to the band. Ta-da-da-da, He Mistook Her for a Swan, with Townes Van Zandt's Black Crow Blues. I hope Mr. YouTube doesn't get mad at me, because it's not a folk song. We'll see. Okay? Anyway, so you guys, go check out our record as soon as you can. I'll keep you updated. And keep out of big trouble. And yeah, just hang in there, people. We'll talk soon. Bye.
After I'm gone, no, don't mourn your young life away. Just bury me low with a prayer and a song, just for the break-in a day, just for the break-in day. It's life worth the living, but we all gotta die. All your crying can't do me no good. So lower me down with a quick sad goodbye. pouring the black Texas mine, pouring the black Texas mine. It's a funny old world, you can't walk it alone. Find a big man to stand beside you, take him down to the river, show him my bones, tell him there lies a friend I once knew. There lies a friend I once knew. Screaming, the yellow sun's warm, and the grass tumbles tall down the hill. There's a cool winter building, it's bringing a storm. When the call of the black crow